Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending this session. Today, we're going to talk about one new innovative concept about public service delivery. We're a company working with public service, administrative service delivery solutions for the last, I would say, maybe 15 years already. Throughout the years, we have loaded different experiences, implementing different administrative proceedings, solutions for administrative proceedings, and we found out that there is enormous similarity across different systems, no matter the verticals, whether this is health, or it's procurement, or it's construction, or transport. We found out that there is some common part of each of those solutions that we need to somehow standardize. And building those different solutions, we started building reusable components or building blocks that we would reuse building all the future systems. That's how we came up with something that we call Public Service Delivery Platform. But let's start with the need for that. The need for that comes from the drive in all the governments and administrative agencies that they need to drive service delivery excellence. They need to cut costs, shorten the time for service delivery, optimize and streamline the experience for the end users, whether this is citizens or businesses. So they need to deliver better service. They need to find a new way to deliver services which would be more convenient. Now we go mobile, we go fully electronic, we need to be fully digital. So far, most of the systems that were done to transform legacy systems to have an online channel. But by doing this, we are just even more complicating the service delivery. So if we are really redesigning, we need to have in mind that we need to cut costs, cut time, save, reduce, and to improve the overall performance and the quality of the services. What are the additional drivers and challenges? So we see different inputs and different requirements coming from different dimensions. Something that comes from standards, something that comes from the legislative or regulatory, I would say, input. We have European Union legislation approximation where we are driven by adopting different regulation to standardize to existing European processes. Then there is an ICT standards that we need to implement. On the other side, we also need to make sure that the core principles are obeyed, that we not ask the citizen to deliver the same information all over again. We don't need to duplicate the information and build different information silos. So having in mind all of those drivers and challenges, we did really thorough analysis in all the previous experience that we had, including managing workload, measuring quality of service delivery, making sure that the platform that we're going to design will have benefits for all the stakeholders, even for administrative workers, but also for the management, the authorities, but also citizens and businesses, but even the NGOs, community society, that they will be also part of this integrated platform. That said, we set up for ourselves basic goals, what we need to deliver. We need to deliver a platform that will have a simplified way for service creation, service fulfillment, service delivery, measuring quality, overall document generation processing in fully digital form, being fully compliant with all the standards that are currently on the market, but also be transparent with everyone involved. So the product that we ended up, we called Nexus Public Service Delivery Platform, or e-Service Delivery Platform. And this is an easy-to-use administrative service creation platform that enables you to create a proceeding to orchestrate the process of service delivery, to monitor the process of delivery, but also to share the results among all the stakeholders. We also did thorough analysis on the EU Action Plan 2016-2020, and we found out that there is quite good guideline that we need to obey in some kind of a key principles building this platform. So what are the key principles within the agenda? And I will emphasize each of those so we make sure that when we analyze the result, the architecture of the platform, we will pinpoint how those key principles is really by design within the platform. So the first key principle would be digital by default. That means that we need to design a system that will enable fully digital from beginning to the end interaction with the customer. So we do not process paper but then transform it in a digital form. We do not orchestrate the process in non-digital form, but we fully redesign the overall processes that everything is original in digital form. Then we say once only. We will never ask any stakeholder to provide information more than once. So we really need to know who is responsible for maintaining the information and how we connect with them and how we interact with them. So this is very important principles, and with this principle impacts different components of the platform that we're gonna show a little bit later. We also need to make sure that we are inclusive and accessible. This means that we should not place different minority groups, or I would say people with less digital skills, people that are not ICT literate, people with disabilities. We should not make them isolated from the services that we deliver. So we need to find a way how to include them so they can use also and see the benefits of this service delivery platform. We need to be open and transparent. That means that access to data needs to be given to the one who has the right to access it, and this should be easy as a process, but also we need to be transparent so we can share the results of this service delivery to different stakeholders that are in the system. We need to be cross-border by default, and this is very simple, or we can say intra-region, across regions by default. This is very simple to say in few words, but that means that the services needs to be cross-regional. That means that whatever we do, we really need to take care about standards. Because if we want to be across regions, that means that we initiate a service in one country, and then the results of this service needs to be processed as an input in another country. We need to make sure that the results are really compatible. That means that every component that we're gonna build needs to be according to some standards that are up to date and maintain them to be up to date as time comes. And interoperability by default, that means that everyone needs to be connected. Everyone holding information that is relevant for service delivery needs to be connected. We need to exchange data and documents so we can make sure that we do not build copies and replicas and inconsistent data sources that will furthermore complicate the service delivery. We need to build trustworthiness and security. We need to make sure that whatever in digital by default form is built within the system, we can trust as a source of information. That means that all the trust services that we are talking about during these days on the summit needs to be really in place. We need to have the pillars of trust within the platform so the results can be trusted, but also we need to make sure that the security is in place, because if we do a false identification of one transacting within the platform, then we can do a lot of damage. The service delivery platform enables organizational digital transformation by introducing all of those key principles. So we made sure that all of those principles are built in within the platform. Before building up the final design of the architecture, we did another analysis. We tried to structure all of the government authorities in, I would say, different groups of organizations based on only a few criteria, so we can do an easy analysis. We started to analyze them based on size by budget. So we have public authorities, agencies that have big budgets or small budgets. They have advanced ICT infrastructure or they don't have it at all. They have a large volume of service transactions or they have low volume. They have complicated services or they have basic services. And they have human resources, personnel or administrative servants that they can employ to orchestrate the services, or they don't have it in sufficient number. So having them structured in 4 groups, we named them in advanced readiness for e-services, medium, low, and basic. Let's start with the first. Advanced means that they have budget, sufficient budget, so they can build ICT systems, electronic registers, transact services, build online portals, and if we analyze all across the region, we would put here typically tax authorities, health insurance funds, central registers for companies, maybe agency for employment, large agencies with all of those characteristics. They would have advanced ICT infrastructure, they would already have electronic registers, they would have data exchange capability, so they are already connected to different data sources, maybe peer-to-peer, maybe through government bus, but they reuse information from different sources. But they also have huge service volume. They have millions of service applications per year that they transact. Maybe they don't have different processes, maybe they have 10 different services, but the volume of those transactions is huge. It's counted in millions. They have already e-service capability, meaning that they have their own portal, they service e-services to citizens and businesses, and they have complicated service, I would say, structure. They have large service sophistications in very detail that they transact online. Also, they do not lack human resources, meaning that they have even central body, they have their IT department, they have their legislative department, they also have large number of administrative servants that they use to deliver services. The second, the medium one, would be very similar, but I would say more legacy-like. They would have maybe smaller budgets, even they can have big budgets, but they have legacy systems built 20 years plus. They have electronic registers, but they don't have ability to exchange data, or they have ability to exchange data. They don't have their service portals, they don't have published web services so they can share data, and they have sufficient, I would say, number of human resources. Service sophistication is at the lower level, large volume of transactions. The third and the fourth are very specific because there are smaller agencies, authorities. They have maybe large volume or medium volume of transactions, service transactions, but they don't have budget. They don't have IT resources. Typically, they would have some very basic network, laptops, desktops, and internet connection. But we want them to be connected. We want them to be part of this service transaction platform. They wouldn't have any data exchange capability, of course, and they have limited human resources. The fourth one would be very basic. So in a municipality, one civil servant responsible for many tasks. We cannot orchestrate the process because it's a single person. So we need to give him very basic tools so they can receive the request, very simple processing so they can respond. We did this readiness analysis so we can design the platform to deliver connection for all of them. So a uniform model to transact, but very profiled connection for each of those different types of institutions. And if we look at this way, first thing that we need to do is to connect them. To connect them so they can be able to share. So we need to do this once only principle, interoperability by default, and connect them so they can easily interact between each other. The advanced level institutions, it's easy. It's the government bus or interoperability platform is built by standards. When I say by standards, means that they need to have all the frameworks, technical standards, semantics, interoperability standards in place so they can connect on a standard way. Easy, without custom programming. So basically they just create a web service and be able to register it without building a huge ICT project, just by configuration. The second would be difficult because they have electronic registers, but they don't have web services to connect. So we need to give them a tool so they can easily build web services and connect. So we built a tool that we called Service Generator. This is a tool that enables organizations that they have the domain knowledge and access to their data layer. Through this configuration tool, they can easily build web services through wizards. So this wizard, by selecting data sources, data that we need, is able to produce web service with code behind and register this to the interoperability platform so it can be reused by others. The third one, it's very difficult to satisfy because this is a large number of institutions. I would name this is schools, kindergartens, local municipality agencies. So if we count them, this would be thousands of them. Each of them would have low sophistication of services and small number of transactions. So we cannot build data centers for each of them. We need to make them work on a single platform. So what we did for them, we built a system called Administrative Service Delivery Backend, or a uniform back office. This is a system which is in a software as a service model, able to configure work for each of different public authorities that will manage and orchestrate administrative proceedings for each of them, customized based on their administrative service. The fourth one, and they're of course using this, automatically connected through the interoperability platform, and they can reuse and share information with others. The fourth one will be very basic. This is one person in a village, and they need to be able to transact. We cannot give them sophisticated tools, orchestrations, and advanced level of technologies because they are not able to delegate. They're just one person. Small kindergarten, they are the manager of the kindergarten, the teacher, and the administrative worker all in one. So for them, we just need to be able to communicate. To do that, we connect them through an e-delivery system. E-delivery is by the new EDS regulation for trust services, a new service, trust service, that defines the process for certified electronic document delivery service. Means very similar to a registered post item. When we send someone a package, we identify ourselves that it's us sending it. When they receive, they identify themselves before they open up the package. Then we are sure that it's delivered at the right hand at the right time. So we connect them through this, plus we give them an additional informative tool, because when they do their work, when they need to register a kid in the kindergarten, besides my application that they receive through this registered mail service, they need to be able to check some additional data, whether this kid is living in the neighborhood, so they are allowed to be in this kindergarten. To do that, we give them Internet Interoperability Information Portal. This is a portal that connects to the interoperability platform, and technical data in XML format. Typically, through the interoperability platform, we exchange XML packages. So they cannot read this data. We need to give them this in a human-readable form. So we did this portal that automatically translates XML documents into HTML and PDF documents. So they're able to query and access any of the web services on the interoperability platform, but in a human-readable form. So someone applies for a service there, they connect to the portal and check data so they can be sure that they can deliver the service. How do we connect citizens and businesses to these backends? All of them different sophistication levels, but that now they're all interconnected. Now we need to connect them to the citizens or businesses. First of all, we need to enable the first very important layer. We need to have national EIDs, and we need to have a single sign-on platform that is built on standards that can authenticate anyone using AID and give credentials to use services at the back end. So having this authentication layer done, where do we authenticate with this? We can authenticate to institutional vertical portals. Let's say tax authority portal. They already have a portal, but we need to upgrade them so they can use this new layer of authentication. But also, we need to upgrade their backend systems to use key enablers that we're going to talk about a little bit later. Then we have two different use of e-services. One that is directly citizen or businesses. They are capable to do transactions by themselves, so they authenticate on the portal, and they use services by themselves. Those that are not able, those are, let's say, people that are not literate with, they're digital illiterate, I could say, or there may be with some disability, or disability on the portal is, of course, enabled, but maybe they're very old and not capable to do their work. Then we have something that we call Proxy Agent. This can be a public authority, or it can be even outsourced, meaning that I go to some one-stop shop. They have an access to the same platform that citizens by themselves have, but when they interact on behalf of someone. They get authorization by the citizen to interact and do service on their behalf. So how do we build services? The key point of all of this is that now we identified all the stakeholders, we identified the needs of different needs for all of those stakeholders, and now we need to give them tools so they can create services. The key benefit of the platform is that this service toolkit enables creation of transactional administrative services with zero coding, meaning that I can build fully transactional service that can go from one end to the other end, deliver fully digital transaction at the end, digital document with all trusted services applied on them without zero coding. So this service toolkit has several subcomponents. One of them is a payment component, very important to be done properly because the citizens would do one financial transaction and this needs to be distributed all across different government authorities. Taxes, administrative payments of different kind that needs to be charged and then redistributed and also accounted for different authorities. We need to have capability to build electronic forms in a very simple way so the citizen can do the work of the administrative worker by themselves. Because when we say it's great to have e-services, we forget what we do. What we do is we give the work of the administrative workers to the citizens to do themselves. Instead of typing on the front desks, they type themselves. But to do that, we need to help them, help build innovative and easy to use forms. When we go to the counter on a manual application, we receive a form which is typically 1 or 2 pages, has about 20 boxes to fill in, and we start to fill in data that the government already knows. Name, surname, address, unique identifier, and then we start again and again filling the same data. We need to have the capability to give a tool that will pre-fill all data that the public institutions authorities knows about us. This is the once only principle. I do not give any information twice. So if I'm already in some registry of births, registry of place of living, registry of families, marriages, whatever, if it's already there, reuse it. From what we did in the analysis, more than 80% of the boxes in each of the application forms, it's known to the public institution. So for example, if you want to put a kid, to register a kid in the kindergarten, the only information you need to give that the institution doesn't know, it's from when, and very specific information related to the kid. That means food specifics, allergy specifics, behavior specifics, medical exam, and these are personal data. Everything else, it's known. It's known that it's my kid. We know where does it live, etc., etc. So this form server and form registry has a capability to build online service based on 2 very simple ways. If the institution building any service at their backend, and we say backend, we think on those 4 readiness matrix models. If they are advanced, that means advanced or medium, that means that they are already having web service registered on the interoperability platform. If they have a web service, form server can build a dynamic form based on web service definition. So we just pick and say, we want a new e-service based on this web service, and we get a form. This form can be pre-filled automatically using data sources coming from all of those 4 levels of institutions. And then we say, this box needs to be pre-filled from the National Register of Population. This box needs to be pre-filled from the Registry of Books, Registry of Births. This box needs to be from the company register, etc., etc., etc. So we pre-fill all we know, and we leave open only a few fields, citizen to fill in. Once built and published, this e-service will enable citizens to apply through the interoperability platform, deliver the request to the appropriate public authority, orchestrate the process of service decision-making, make a decision, respond with the decision in an e-document format, and deliver it back to the citizen or business. The whole cycle is done through only a configuration, whatever is the type or readiness level of the institution. All of this needs to be built on an already pre-built key enabler. So in order to build this one, we need to prepare. We need to prepare and pre-build different key enablers. First of all, e-document. We need to make sure that we have the proper structure and the proper trust marks on the e-document. So we need to know how do we verify this document, how we convert this electronic into a paper document, and how this paper copy can be validated back to the electronic original. Because there are a lot of complexities arising from them. I can do an electronic transaction with the government and get, let's say, proof of my extract from the registry of books, of births. But I take this to a bank. I print it out and I take it to a bank. How the bank will validate the originality of this paper copy? There is a way. There is a permanent service link that with a QR code scanning can drive you back to the portal where we have a registry of all the output documents so they can see the digital original. And many other properties like this. Then we have the e-signature building block, very important. If some of you have ever used, electronic service with electronic signature, you have seen the nightmares of Java versions and problems with using electronic signatures on token or smart cards. This building block needs to eliminate this. Build signature capability that will take the burden from the citizen and businesses. Also, be able to use organizational seals for all the authorities part of the platform. So with the document resulting, electronic document that is derived out of the registers can have organizational seal and timestamp. We need to have a meta register to know which data comes from which source. So then we can easily connect and orchestrate. We need to have administrative service catalog. A list of all services is delivered by this institution or is delivered the way it's delivered, the due dates, the pre-requirement, etc. Population register, very important component. It's part of meta register, but we take it out specifically because access to population register needs to be policy-based. I cannot access personal data if I don't have the right to do. The right to access it comes by law or by consent. So any access needs to be registered, monitored, and even transparently given to the citizen. So the citizen can log on to the portal and see, in the last 30 days, these institutions has accessed my personal data for these purposes. Of course, we need to have e-delivery, I mentioned it why, and we have single sign-on that is important. I will take 1 minute more. Analyzing the whole platform, how do we roll out? How do we engage? So we build it, we have this already done. What needs to be done in each of different readiness level of institutions so they can become part of the system? The first one needs to, first of all, register their services into the administrative service catalog, just to register them. So fill in the content related to the service, the proceedings, something that is defined by law or by law. When they register there, they just link their existing e-services there. So we can have an integrated view. They need to connect to the population register, cut down all the, let's say, personal register that they have already done for themselves, delete and connect to the single authority for personal data, that's the population register. So we can monitor the use of personal data and use accurate data. Then connect to the single sign-on platform for authentication, use e-payment standard block, use e-signature standard block, and enable e-document in a standardized format. When they use these blocks, in the existing platform they have, they're already compliant to be orchestrated within this platform. The second level would need to do a little bit more. To connect first of all, to the interoperability platform using this service generator tool so they can interact. And then it's almost the same. Population register, service catalog, signature, document, any document. The third level, it's much simpler. They can do very fast, they can be onboarded very fast because they use single platform for all. This is software as a service. So basically, we just need to onboard them. To onboard them means that we need to register all the services they deliver. We need to configure all of those services in the platform to be used, and then connect to the standard building blocks, which is done automatically by this administrative service backend. Time and money, very low. So in very short time and with the small budgets, we can onboard hundreds of institutions to be transactional. The fourth one is the easiest. It just needs training and onboarding. Because to do them, register a catalog, e-delivery subscription, and use of Internet Information Portal. Basically, it's like training them to use any Office tool like Google Docs or Office 365. This is the rollout model for different readiness of institutions. This is done by experience because we have seen that in different implementations, we can structure the way we approach. Now this platform, I must say, all of this that I've explained is already delivered, implemented, and it's something that it's not future-proof, but it's today's proof. The takeaways. To do this, it's not just to develop. Then you need to enable it. To enable it, it's a long way. I come from North Macedonia, and I say this is already deployed. It's not used. It's not used properly. Why? Because you need to integrate everyone. The advanced level institutions, they just need to comply. We say just need to comply, but they need to plan their budgets, to connect to the key enablers, and to standardize. So for this, you need to build a program. You need to build a program that is specific for each of the readiness level. How do you interact with the advanced level, with the middle tier, with the small, with the low level of readiness, and with the basic level of readiness. Build a program and approach budget, and then integrate. We are time out. We have maybe 30 seconds if there is question. If there is more, we can do that outside the hall.